Hi everybody, this is Kath and this is my Maundy Thursday message to you. Tag, you're it. Seems a bit of a strange thing to be saying, but actually I think those three words, tag, you're it, sum up the real meaning of today. It's Maundy Thursday in Holy Week, and traditionally the church thinks about the last night that Jesus spent with his friends before he was arrested and taken off to be crucified on the Friday. On the Thursday he was meeting with his friends, and John's Gospel has a massive amount of detail about their conversation, what they talked about, and it's quite deep. And there's probably far too much to cover in just a short talk. One of the most significant things that Jesus says during the course of the meal is, in effect, tag, you're it. He doesn't say it quite like that. First of all, he demonstrates what he's going to tell them by doing something really weird. That's never happened to me at a dinner party. But basically, he gets down on his hands and knees and he insists that he's going to wash their feet. This was the job of the lowest of the lowly servants. You can imagine nobody wanted to do that job. But this is what Jesus was doing. He said, unless you let me do this, you can't really have any part in me. As my follower, I've come as a servant and I'm going to wash your feet. And he gets down on his hands and knees. And he gets a towel and some water in a bowl and he washes their dusty, possibly smelly feet. And he does that to all of them. I've always thought it's interesting that Jesus knew perfectly well that one of his followers, one of his closest friends, Judas, was going to go and betray him. And yet Judas took part in that meal and Judas had his feet washed by Jesus, and he still went and betrayed him. That gives me a lot of pause for thought. Jesus, having done these amazing things, looks at them and he says quite simply that he wants them to love one another. Got this beautiful picture here of hands all coloured in, love one another. And of course, we're existing right now at a time when we can't actually do that. We can't wash one another's feet. We can't hug one another. We can't touch. We can't shake hands. We can't embrace. And it's actually proving to be quite difficult, particularly for people like me. I'm quite a huggy sort of person. But we are finding ways, aren't we? As a church, as the people of God, we are finding ways to love one another. And I think that we do that as his people because we are impelled by the second part of the new command that Jesus gave that evening. Because he told them, this is a new command. You know, the great commandment to love God and love your neighbour as yourself. Well, I'm giving you a new one. And the new one is this: love one another. Wait for it. As I have loved you. Love one another as I have loved you. And of course, he's basically saying that as God, he has come and he has made himself human. He has become one of us. He is, if you like, a servant. In Philippians chapter 2, verse 8, we're told that he humbled himself. He humbled himself. He gave up his glory and became a servant to us. He came to serve and to save us. He came to die our death on the cross. St. Paul says that he was obedient even unto death on a cross. Now, I think that Jesus is following the great theme of God's redemption in Scripture here. God says once to Jeremiah how much his heart is hurting for his people who turn away from him. In Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 3, he says, I have loved you with an everlasting love, and yet still they turn away. And then in Jeremiah chapter 31, he says, look, I'm going to make a new covenant with you, okay? You're not going to need a kind of rule book. You're going to have my spirit within you. and you're going to know me. It's going to be a real intimate relationship. In Luke's Gospel, at this very meal, Jesus says that he has come to make a new covenant in his blood. The new commandment that is at the very heart of this new covenant is to love one another in the way that Christ has loved us. Continue to love one another. Continue to be his people. Continue to be humble servants of our Father, and know yourself to be blessed. Amen.